Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, celebrity interviews, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. Now celebrating 17 years of broadcasting success, here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
And welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again, both for our radio audience here in Mississippi at WYAD 94.1 FM and WYADonline.com. Really appreciate you all being with us. Also, those tuning in through online affiliates around the world, thanks to our friends at iHeartRadio and Amazon Music Podcast. Glad you all could be with us as well. Well, as the month of June is coming to an end, so is Men's Health Month. We've been sharing with you guys a lot of information for your health. Our next segment, though, is something that all of our audience should be aware of. According to the American Heart Association, heart disease kills more Americans each year than anything else, claiming nearly 700,000 lives in the United States just last year alone. Here to talk to us about ways you can manage cardiovascular risk options is the Director of Cardiology at the State of the Heart Cardiology. We're excited to welcome Dr. John Osborne to our program, as well as his patient pilot, Mike Hodge. Thanks to the two of you for the time today. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us on, Cyrus.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, the pleasure's definitely all mine. So, Dr. Osborne, let me kick this off with you. We've been talking all this month about different things, especially for us guys that we need to be aware of. But again, when it comes to cardiovascular risk, it is something that affects all of us. Why is the reduction such an important issue for you in your practice?
Absolutely. Simply because it is and has been and continues to be the leading cause by far of death in the U.S., and it's been the leading cause of death for decades. So lowering that risk becomes, of course, dramatically important. In fact, half of men and two-thirds of women, the first symptom of heart disease is when it kills you. So this is something that is it's as serious as a heart attack, as Mike can tell us about, but it is a major, major health issue. Beyond that, we have lots of data and science showing things that lower cardiovascular risk. And as an example, only a few years ago, drugs that were commonly used, such as fenofibrates, trichlorotrialypics, the FDA literally reviewed all the data and revoked the FDA approval for those medications because we found that they didn't work. So it's very important that we stay up to date, that we maintain an awareness of the science, both for the patients as well as obviously healthcare providers, to make sure that we continue to reduce the risk to the best degree we can of the major cause of death in the United States.
Yeah, such a great point, Dr. Osborne, and which is why we're so glad to have the two of you on with us. Mike, Dr. Osborne mentioned you. Can you talk to us about your own cardiovascular risk and what your journey has been like since?
Well, I appreciate the question, and I thank you for that. I'd like to pass along the information that you have to be really proactive in your own medical history or medical life. I had my first bout with the medical world when I was had a heart attack. I thought I was healthy up until that time. I actually ran that morning, which I did quite a bit every other day, and I had a heart attack. And after I had bypass surgery, I was sent home to Texas and was told to find a cardiologist to try and help me out. And when I did that, I went through two of them that both told me I couldn't ever fly again. I went and saw Dr. John Osborne, and he said, that isn't true. I think that we can probably make it work and make it happen if you stay with me. And we did that for 6 months through the diet, through exercise, and the proper medications that he prescribed. And we followed that, and in 6 months, I got back to medical flight status and was able to go back to my work. Since then, I stay very, very much informed of the medical breakthroughs, you want to call it that, with Dr. Osborne passing me information. I do my own research. I take it in. We sit and have great discussions about what the best course of action is, and I stay with it. Now, we do change medications at times, and I've gotten on fenofibrates, and I've gotten on now approved drugs by the FDA that will lower my risk of ever having that symptoms again. So I think I'm being proactive is the key to staying healthy in my life.
Yeah. Dr. Osborne, Mike mentioned, and Mike, thank you so much for that. Mike mentioned a few things I want to kind of go back to with you because he mentioned, of course, diet, exercise, but also communication with one's doctor. Can you kind of talk to us, Dr. Osborne, about what you normally talk to your patients about when it comes to, as Mike was saying, even if changes have to be made, ways that they can be able to make those changes to reduce cardiovascular risk?
Absolutely. So obviously the foundation of all this is diet, exercise. I think we hear that all the time, but it needs to be done daily on a daily basis. And then, of course, lifestyle, not smoking, keeping your weight under control, all those things. But medications are going to play a central role here because cholesterol, most of the cholesterol issues are genetic. And like hair color, they're not going to change unless it's, you're using something out of a bottle. So that's where the science comes into play. And in fact, I would encourage people, the concerning thing I see is that there's millions of people on these drugs called phenofibrates that have shown to be not helpful, not useful, and yet we still take them, still potentially expose ourselves to side effects, and they don't work. So I would encourage everybody to have a discussion with their healthcare provider about other newer, proven, and FDA-approved tools that do, in addition to what statins do, which are kind of the cornerstones of therapy, that do further lower cardiovascular risk and based on great science and data.
I love the fact that that Mike mentioned that communication. I know that the world has definitely changed a lot, Dr. Osborne, in the past year. But are you noticing that to also be a recurring theme? You mentioned things like diet and exercise, but also making sure that people are seeing a physician on a regular basis.
Well, I think it's particularly been challenging with COVID because I think we've gotten very distracted. But I'll say, too, that twice as many people last year in 2020 died of cardiovascular disease than died of COVID. We don't want anybody dying, frankly, of preventable things. But that is the fact. And so we need to be proactive. We need to, get our flight plan. We need all of these things change. We need to be aware of our equipment, the meteorology, if you will, the weather, all those things, to use Mike's flying analogies, so that we're really up to speed on the current science, that we can make sure that we bring this in for a safe landing.
Well, it's great information, and I really appreciate the two of you for being on with us today. Again, everyone, Dr. John Osborne, the Director of Cardiology at State of Heart Cardiology, as well as pilot Mike Hodge. I really appreciate the time. And Dr. Osborne, where can our audience go for more information?
Yeah, a great place to start to get your briefing, if you will, is a website called itscleartomenow.com. A great place to get really up to speed and then understand where the science is and then be able to ask your healthcare provider, am I on the right trajectory? Am I on the right flight path?
All right, it's cleartomenow.com. We'll make sure that we link that up for our audience. Really appreciate the time today for the two of you gentlemen, and it goes without saying, you're welcome back here anytime.
Thank you, Cyrus. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Cyrus.
You're more than welcome, and we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying, as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live. Now let's go make today amazing. Take care.